police nyol alfana mbejan yo all right kala la holiday diala all right badi ngol ngalo konton ngal ton nalo konton we just have a couple of things to clarify and to pin a point at. We thought we were done with first Ousainou and Ami, and the focus would have been who definitely did kill the cops, but we know we are not, and this case is far from over. We've heard from the president, and we've heard from his police chiefs, we've heard from his security advisor, and we've heard from the streets, from his supporters and, Ikukenyolo. Where we want to preface this conversation today is the president's statements that I have personally seen as segregative, divisive, and of course alienating the Bojang family. First, the president told us, typically in Mandinkan, Tolini ku killing omoloti. And in typical analytical context of Ntolni Manke ku killing omoloti, there was nothing like Ousainou Bojang belongs to a camp that the president does not feel like they are the same people. This is nothing to do with personality and where people are coming from or who they are or who they associate with. This was a case between the state and the Bojangs. So the state here does not mean NPP. The state here does not mean the Barrow family. The state here does not mean any associate of the president or otherwise. The state here is the Gambia altogether. And you as the head of state, therefore if the state has a case against any Gambian and that Gambian is a member of the state, you cannot take sides as the president. So your utterance is to say, ndolbe nyimutala puru montolni nyimmanke ku kilingo molti. Ine minimu ku kilingo molti luolung ibe luati nyaka nyimbanko kayebu kwa muta. Bara yenye muta mundalila kang, and beside ita manka muta moti, because this was the state versus the Bojangs. Now, if it is the state versus the Bojangs, and it got to a point that people noticed that this person did nothing wrong, and for you as the president to say, so imanke kuke nyoloti in what capacity? Because you had nothing to do with it whatsoever. It was not a case between Adam Barrow versus the Bojang or the president of the country versus this person. It was the state of the Gambia. And, Ousainou Bojang ni Ami Bojang, they are members of the Gambia. They are part of that state of the Gambia. So the Gambian state having a case against two of its citizens has nothing whatsoever to do with you as a person, the president, and your political party. But because you had, you people have taken a partisan line from the beginning, and your statements re-echo those facts. Imanke kuke nyolote wale almanke kuke lingoti, as in what? They don't support the NPP? How do you know what their political linings are? Imanke, cooking what with you as in what? They are not from, your region or what? What exactly does that mean? Imanke cooking nyoloti or almanke cooking or multi as in what? They are not members of the NPP or what? Because that statement still need decoding for proper understanding of the society to say, Gambia ding itele boli nyatong kayakang. And ite you should be the custodian of our laws in this country. Therefore, you need to make sure that there is that impartial application of the law across the board, irrespective of what a Gambian believes or what they do not, including non-Gambians residing in the Gambia. So for you to take sides and tell us that ntolni nyine manke ku killing multi, betawa feka mantoro la molla kaini minimum ku killing multi. But what exactly was the president trying to infer here? The president is simply either telling us that Ousainou is not a member of my political party, ni mantara ku killing, therefore anything could happen to them, and to tell us that Nyindunia Rahmano Beko Nontoloma Momuta for more killing, Alia Mirantolenya Matala. But what tells you that at any point that you actually get a suspect, you have a probability of 100% that you actually got the right person? There are two instances, or there are two possibilities at any time that you actually get a suspect. One is either 50% you got it right, on the other 50% is probably you did not get the right person. You would only confirm that you got the right person through your investigations. But for the president to come out and tell us that, you know, whatever, we don't have any business whatsoever to do with them. It is not the presidency versus the Bojangs. It is not the NPP versus the Bojangs. It is not Manka Mankunda versus the Bojangs. It is not your region versus the Bojangs. It is the Gambia, and you are leading the Gambia. And for you to take that partisan position to make it look like but tell us, what munkusi falla multi? E manke Gambia di molti bang? Wale manke moving molti kwaita bang? Wale mambo ita la region oto bang? Wale mantra do kwa la masakunda bang? What exactly does the president try to infer by telling us that that speaks to one thing. After the politicization of this case, and now the ultimate defeat that you actually got at, you know, in court, now you want to tell us that in what aspect? Now, that's just one aspect of it. The second part, atolo mamu da nyindunia be kono fo mo killing. Nyimo killing min aliyamuta al murunta al konya ko rebelo la mati. Nyimo killing min aliyamuta al konya be do ko wala brikama area council. Nyimo killing min aliyamuta al konya ko ale codes nyole used to actually get him. Nyimo killing min aliyamuta al konya ko ay conniving, partner la sort of mini alongo wolle moto di ala miya samba to the thick forest of Casamas. But aside atoli nyimo killing mi muta dunia be ko natol mamu na fo mo killing bare mone atolo bulaka kumo le sifa be fo nyimo killing mo mi ya lon ko woli be na ta ke ko wala manke to nyaade president mo nyante da nyin kala walla. And the right thing that you were supposed to do, because I respected the fact that you allowed the legal process to go in, without any interference directly. And of course it was visibly seen that justice was being done, because the prosecution was giving the latitude to argue their case beyond reasonable doubt. Even whereas I believe that this case needed to stop at the no case to answer, I still, respect the fact that the judge did the right thing by allowing it to proceed, because then and there we will know everything and, all that had happened in the case. You never said anything that I felt that was respectful and respectable of you, that you allowed the police to handle it because it's the case of the state and not you as in a person. It has nothing whatsoever to do with you. You allowed the police and the prosecution to do whatever they needed to do. Just like the judge allowed both parties to defend or, of course, argue their case to the best of their ability. At the end of it, and when the judgment came out, as a responsible president, unbiased and without taking sides, needed to ask these few questions. Where did we get it wrong? Summon the Attorney General, and which I think you still need to do. Summon the Attorney General. If you summon the Attorney General, and of course the IGP, and the former IGP who is the Interior Minister, right? And a few things to do with that if you really want to do justice to this case. Find out from the Attorney General what file the police submitted to them that they actually recommended for prosecution. Find out from the former IGP how Pate Jallo and Sanjay Gomez were stationed in this particular location. Have a historical fact of where they were all those days or all those months until the month they actually stationed them at this particular place. Find out where, Sanjay and Pate Jallo were from December, let's say from, April, May, June, July, August, all the way to September, and realize why they were put at this particular location by September. Now again, Mr. President, it will be important for you to actually summon the entire investigation panel, and of course the head of anti-crime, to ask them how they investigated this matter and why they said Ousainou was a rebel, why they said he worked in Brikama Area Council, why they actually said he had other conniving, partners whose names were never mentioned, and as well, tell us where the money they claim to have recovered, where it is. Mr. President, ask the Interior Minister why they gave $1 million to Mama Jabi when it should have been in exchange of valuable information that is actually going to prove to you beyond reasonable doubt that this particular person committed this crime. Because first, before you give 1 million to Mama, Mama would have given you something. What did Mama give the police? What did Mama give the president's family? Because Mama was all over in Mankamankunda. That means she would have sat with you. What did Mama give you, Mr. President, as evidence to this case? Mama was interviewed in your house where your sister lives. What did Mama give your sister as evidence to this case? When Ousainou got to Casamas, Mama called your nephew who works at GRA. What did Mama give your nephew as evidence to this case? So your family is directly involved with Mama, who is the, the main person in this case who claimed that she actually got a confession from Ousainou. Like if you go to a shop, you want to buy something, you give them money and they give you the product, right? Now you actually pronounce a bounty. That means you would have, have enough money with you, but somebody needed to present to you evidence that are unquestionable before you give them that 1 million. Mama audio diatolla. Alia 1 million di mama la. Altara kiti o lalko audio filter. Paria meratol nyamama. Atole Gambian kol la namu kodo. Alia wata alia di mama jabila. Alia diala dalilo minka wala nyindiko Mama Jabi has an audio that contained confession from Ousainou Bojang. In exchange for that audio, you gave Mama 1 million. Without even examining this audio. Without even listening to this audio. Without even establishing the facts about this audio. You just picked our money and gave it to Mama? And then when you were asked in court, Moro, where is the audio? Then you start examining the audio. This is how you people are ruling our country? After the fact? And all you could do was to lie that the audio is lost? Mr. President, summon your investigation team. Ask them these questions. Start firing them one after the other. Prosecute them and, of course, incarcerate them. That way we will see that your government is serious. That way we will know that your government is not culpable. That way we will know that Jalo Simo Mantara Foramokan. And one thing that is going to be clear, without any iota of doubt. Haniye Satan legend in Dunia, Ikaina to come and preside over this case. There is nothing, absolutely nothing, that can convict Ousainou Bojang on this matter. Because if you look at Ibrahim Jaita's judgment, and you believe in justice, and you believe in the truth, and you believe in the credibility of whatever that legal cycles or legal processes take, there is nothing to question about it. But mean for Mr. President, Mama visited Mankamankunda. Even if she did not see you personally, she would have seen people. Mama visited your family members. If she did not see you, she would have seen them. Mama has constant communication with your nephew, in whose name her SIM card was registered. She would have provided something to them. And then Mama went to the police, would have provided something to the police. The police would have examined those facts and established facts about what Mama had submitted to them. And of course, do a proper investigation and thorough interrogation of all the facts that Mama would have given them before organizing that event at the Ministry of Interior's conference hall to hand over $1 million to Mama. Mama emune dunga atolo bulu. Fo atolo Mama ka lelo ko audio be mbulla dratole 1 million dial alkay Mama tela hajola. Nyina mukuti laftal nyinen kala minna. Mr. President, if you are an impartial president who understood that you are leading a whole nation and not just a fraction of people, you wouldn't have taken sides. And if you are completely innocent about this matter, you wouldn't have taken sides. You would have allowed the Ministry of Justice to write its communique, do its appeal, because it believed that it has still some grounds to go and appeal. But what are you appealing? The decision of the judge. What had you presented in this case? Honey evidence killing. Memo killing at all more present. So for you to tell us that you believe that this person did it, you would have been provided enough evidence and enough grounds to actually have that belief. I dare you, Mr. President. Let's go to court and you provide your evidence. Don't even say that it's an appeal to the judgment of Jaite. Put up a fresh case and you come to court and provide your evidence. Because the courts do not make determinations on the basis of your beliefs or your assumptions or your suspicions. So you should have known better as a head of state. And in that kind of a communication, you should, Barrow is one very predictable person, very different from Yaya Jammeh. Yaya la kuriatiti, but Yaya is calmer than you. You pretend, you actually act as a nice guy when in reality you people are cruel, but you cannot hide it because you're very emotional and then you are very predictable in the way you actually react to stuff. Because you are so much agitated, you get so much agitated when Ousainou Bojang speaks and you cannot really hide it, and then it is compelling you to say things that you shouldn't be saying. And that is why you are so predictable, because when you speak, it is visible in your mannerism and your behavior. A president should not be predictable. When you are in a position of authority, when you are speaking, even when you are angry, it should not be visible on you. Even if something really upsets you, it should not be visible on you. I remember when Jammeh used to be asked about Data Hydra, he just looks at the journalist with a smile and said, you know what, they died like any other Gambian. You ask you who killed the cops, go and ask Ousainou Bojang. That speaks to guilt. That speaks to a man of, temperamental attitude. Even though you are not, a very difficult person in my view, I don't really think that, you are much of a very, very bad person or whatever. But in this case, your government is complicit. And that is why you are agitating. But Mr. President, when a president says, I believe that this person did it, and you are the head of state, and the state has a case against this person, meanwhile, you have no evidence to prove it in court, then, Mr. President, sack all your DPP and all your prosecutors and be the prosecutor. It's under one circumstances that you can convict Ousainou Bojang, when you, the president, becomes the judge and then put in your belief over evidence to actually give a judgment. If you, the president, become the judge and, of course, use your belief instead of evidences to actually give an adjudication on this matter, then and there, you can basically convict this person. But your statement speaks to one thing. Because you are the head of state, you are the #1 person in this country, and that is your belief, that belief will not influence any decision that is going to be taken either at the Court of Appeal or wherever. And any decision that is taken contrary to what Justice Jete did would actually be considered an influenced decision by the president, because the belief of the president is now what you are putting into test and not what was presented before the courts. So that is why your statements carry a lot of weight, carry a lot of power. And now, under no circumstances can you convict this person, because anything that you do now, we will conclude that is based on the belief of the president and not on any evidence. Evidence o min sambanan no kiti moro. Muntumala atolo be sambanuna. Even if you put up a fresh allegation against this man, tell me what you would actually bring to court. Sanje fula kariworo ali fengo femfena be mutonya tanolade. Mr. President, yamre defo ya londo mimbe kirimba, because I tend to believe that Barrow really did not know what was going on, because this is so obvious that if Barrow really knows a simple thing that was happening in this court case or altogether, would have advised himself better. Is Barrow completely disconnected to what was happening in this country? That Barrow did not know that his police actually killed, actually formatted Ousainou Bojang's phones? That Barrow did not know that the police that he is defending actually said this dude is a rebel? That Barrow himself, as the president of the country, did not know that the people that he seeks to defend actually told us that this person works in Brikama Area Council? That Barrow did not know the 1 million bounty he actually gave was given to Mama Ajabi on the basis of an audio that they came to court and said that audio is lost. That means Mama was giving free money and she actually gave nothing to government. Mama should be arrested by government and asked to pay our money and probably put behind bars. But I told you, we are going to make sure we take legal actions against Mama. and probably some officials within your government. So, Mr. President, advise yourself better. Advise yourself better, because your security advisor did not advise you better. Your IGP did not advise you better. And again, call Sankare and ask him. Sankare nga mo itara kiti mo re yenyi ninka ko yemimbe for police ole afwe. Police jumale afwe. Because when he was asked in court, he said the police told me. And when asked who among the police told you, he said the police told me. Police wuli tang wala minta mbida wala ole Gambia. For police ole bele diamuta Sankare. Let Sankare tell us the police officer that told him everything that he had said. And Jeng said everything he said was intelligence and a report from the police. Let Jeng provide that report to you, Mr. President, and you examine that report. Don't be lazy, man. You are paid a lot of money from the taxpayers' money. Your entire family is taken care of by the taxpayers' money. Then, Mr. President, do justice to us as the people of this country. Do justice for the people of this country. Call these folks who are within and around you. Ask them these questions. Call Ibuso and ask Ibuso, why did you format this young man's phone? Format. This is the question. Why does the president feel the need to think that Ousainou did it without even examining the facts behind everything? Why? Go to the prisons and actually get Lamin Sow, who said that, of course, there was a CCTV footage and Ousainou was sent by the UDP. You should be seeing to be an impartial president, an independent president who is actually leading all people of this country, irrespective of their political affiliation. But to tell us that it ain't Ousainou Nyolomange coup killing what barandile, because I don't even understand coup killing or as in what? As in what? Coup killing or as in what? That you believe the person did it. Based on what? I should definitely have credible evidence before my table that I examine and understand that under no circumstances, without any reasonable doubt, this person did this. But you came to court, you presented nothing. Is the gun? You hide the gun. You actually put in a a wrong ballistic examination. All your witnesses were busy lying, and all of that. Somebody need to give this judgment to the president to read through, or probably go and ask people outside and ask them, how was this case going on in this country? Because your statement puts your entire party in jeopardy. It's shameful. It is shameful. It is shameful, the kind of statements that came out of your mouth. That you know, why would we just go and get okay, sir, Mr. President, ale dunia rahmano bejibe faranyanta moja la mutala motang baratolo mo kilongo la control yeko. This person has co-conspirators. Where are they? Where are the co-conspirators? Ila mol la control yeko. They've recovered part of the money he was paid to kill the cops. Where is the money? It told Loko he wore a combat boot. It did not fit him in court. So what did you want the judge to do? To oblivious of all the facts and saying anya biti drong nyine diara president lata nyine la drong mbada ngoke. Moro bara kiti yo buka ko nyamade bara ita control yelo ko ita ni mol kata kiti wala ita buka lawyer fa ngota ita ko win kiti bu kono. The president would have needed a more win no kitty book on the water in kitty or yamming and it came mira yamming the one kitty win or fatal day. Because you bragged at one point that you take people to court, you don't even take a lawyer, you go and defend yourself. You know, those people with their lawyers, Ike will win. Trying to show us how competent and, of course, great you are in winning court cases. But again, you told us you're one of the best mathematicians during your time, but yet you do not understand that the probability of it being the right, suspect or wrong is just, half of it. It's just 1/2. Follow among evidence will provide. You don't have any. By the time you actually get a suspect, the probability of it being the right person is just 1/2. Until you have all those evidences provided, and then you know that tonya na mimuta telomo. But at the point of capture, it is either or, and either or is a 50-50% game. So nyinno mu quote mi yalon ko Gambian ko be nyanta adam baro la mansa kunda nyin kalala o manke ko moy mansa kunda konne or whatever. For me, the reason why after the judgment I was like, okay, let's just see what the government is going to do. I was expecting, if you really have nothing whatsoever to do with this case, you should have been very much agitated. The first thing you should have done was, of course, talk to the people. We went to court and we lost. We still believe that we have a case, we will appeal. Meanwhile, my government will not leave any stone unturned. Mbe minkela wala nyintiko, IGP nanang, atolla ko nyimboyo murebelo, tali obone muntol. Atolla kontela mansa kundaye ko nyimboyo abe UDP le. Giving false information to a public officer is a crime in the Gambia. And for the police to be masterminds of those criminal doings on matters relating to the death of their own people? I know a lot of people is because of how they have to, struggle to get a job, take care of their families and all of that. But if I was a police officer, I would be agitated enough to resign. But those people might not even need to resign. The people that investigated this matter, the police should begin to question them. This is only telling one thing. People who are responsible for our security in this country could die and nothing will come out of it. And everybody is sitting and looking as if everything is okay. Including the entire police force looking around as if everything is okay. That they could kill any one of you tomorrow and it feels like it is okay. So, Mr. President, you need to appear to do right and you need to start doing right and you need to really rewatch yourself and, of course, do something better. And in doing so, you need to be seen to be making sure that justice is done on this matter. By establishing an impartial and, of course, an independent inquiry into the matter. To investigate the investigators. To investigate the police leadership. To investigate Mama Ajabi. To investigate even members of your family. And to investigate members of your political party. Those in the military, those in, at the prisons, and, of course, the police chiefs. This is what you need to start doing. But to take sides and say, this is not about Atolonin Tolo. This is about the Gambian, the state, the Gambia versus a potential criminal. So you cannot trivialize that and you cannot personalize that. And you can never take that from a partisan lens. All that you need to do is to see yourself as the president of the Gambia and all people living in the Gambia. And this is a criminal matter, therefore must be investigated impartially and justice is done. Don't side with the investigators. Don't side with the police. Don't make it look like this is a matter between you and other people. No. And that is basically my message to you. You need to start investigating the people inwardly. Probably you have no proper experience of how some of these things work, but Mr. President, to start with, right? Call the former IGP. How was Party and others put at this place? Call the other guy from whatever they call that institution, those with the black uniforms, anti-crime. Call him and ask him, Itako, this person confessed to you in the vehicle. How were you even jailing army and men in the same cell? Are you people crazy? Do you know that that is against somebody's fundamental rights? Call your national security advisor who is within the corridors of power. Ask him, how did you conclude that this person is a rebel? That he acquired this weapon from Casamas? This is what you need to do. Call the former DIG. Tell him to bring the codes to you. You need to see them, you as the president. You are the commander-in-chief. Let him bring you his codes. Because you need evidence, because you think you have enough of a case to actually go to court. You think that you believed everything they told you. Now, Mr. President, ask them to give you all those evidence. We ask you a simple question. Ask your government, why did they format the suspect's phone? Ask DIG, bring me all the codes that you were tracking, the phone that you were tracking. Imagine, at the beginning, you did not know who the suspect is. He remains as a suspect, or he remains as somebody killed the cops, and we don't know who this person is. And you told us that you were tracking a phone before, during, and after the incident. The police's sole responsibility is to prevent crime. Why didn't you take preventive measures to make sure that this person did not commit this crime? But why, after the commission of the crime, why didn't you arrest the person? But again, somebody committed a crime, you don't know this person, all of a sudden you were already tracking him. How did you know that was him? An unknown suspect you already started tracking? Make that make sense to a reasonable mind. But again, let's even give that unreasonability to them that yes, of course you were tracking him. Which phone were you tracking? Because we were told that the phone was actually left in Bruford dead. But again, while you were tracking the phone, you said you were tracking the phone that night. Now, this guy was in Bruford until the next day in the afternoon. So why does the president not see a reason to look inwardly and begin to question his own people? The CCTV footage is not seen. The vehicle at the crime scene belongs to an officer. Mr. President, we have provided you enough to look inwardly. J. Dabo has spoken and of course giving you enough reason to look inwardly. But your deliberate attempt to neglect all the right angles and the direction to which you should be directed at is deliberate. It is deliberate. I had the opportunity to talk to my grandmother. Yes, it's the weekend, so I had to talk to family, you know. I have a Manjago family and I have so I had to talk to my, it was like, oh my heart, you be talking a lot about some stuff that's going on. Like, what is it? Because you say a lot of things in English and in Mandinka that I don't understand. And I had to start, you know, I did not get to start to explain in detail. I was like, you know what, grandmother, don't worry about it. You know, it's some officer stuff that did happen. I said, okay, you know, just be careful, you know. Just be careful. But typically, in a typical Manjago setting, it's like, but one thing that she knew was that there is something really troubling about it. Chunkama, the pusim pick purun pujaba nyankama, o boy one thing about police kalempri brikama area council. Abajakama legging the brikama area council jacket and nekalempro jaka kumoneko de kalemprulo. Baja kundo kama neko churebel, abajaka achurebel ulon uwanu from uko puri depumea. Baka kajaundu boy bajenga kuma nulufingumba police, neko lente mama jabi kuma nulufingumba police, mama jabi tiji audio ni meni, tultina lente nulutun kuma nulufingumba police. Kibandu kote buka jopona ni audio ni mena kuboy wijuon kuma nulufingumba police, ndija kuma audio ni mtemi yangaba 1 million from pusia. So koyu atepa, you know, the whole point is now chitepuja como, you know, banya anchiki chitepuja uboy we doing karoing achipuye para pusimpiu yimfingumba police, because the families now should start their own impartial investigation because the government doesn't seem to be interested in investigating the matter. So yindi bambuka bekine sang kampu nata leg in the table, you start your personal investigations. Because koe bajawen ke bling tu ti ukotu ya chingu ko butu bling tu nyanke yeparu we ka na pusinga pani ko tu par na patni mene ko kat ko na roli bukul. Kina takia ulemp buka ja kama pase pa mfingo bukul ne ko chiri UDP we me kuma ne ko chiri UDP we kaka ja kuma ne ko chinyani me kuma you know banya yili yulu buku ujaka yili yulu uko meata beja kuma luka unchamba pa fingo bukula unchamu muntana no bukul buyankulu uncham tiwul biyaka unchamu winata. Hello, man. Hello. Then banyanga tef bling tu buka ja katu lonko unchiwi because banyambi ki koe bajawin ki wuli chunu char. Wija ka butupu ko buka ja wi mama ja be kuriye audio na audio niam. Aniam ajom. Audio niam abanyanti pe tasi audio ba wini ndulo ba jo legin ginyeja ni audio ne muntu banyanga chiki mbambuling ko yu pass we jawi. Wija ka kuma audio dikanyeji ti tepusi entepandu pun case ni court buka ka ja kuma audio ne muntu nuko dika chiki mana di court. We buku beko. Pusi we buku beko. Kolo le winda kampo me. Pusi meu mbamfing biki upat. Mbari mbakaki e katubu, butubu luke kakaka bukulo, buka ngala pija kumonyani kajilenti wala tuntabwe. Anjako rika pori pija mtefinga, banyankuru fingu ko banyane, buka janda balanda fina. Ya na banyamba pucha de bling tu, nula mene ubarari, uko kapna tu chak. Cause nyandi kanata rika tolo papute pulemp, nyange fingul, ngwana ngutabu ne klipaj, wijaka kumo, niba jenga fingul nchitulo, ande ngukongi pusinga jenga bling tu, achingu ko butubu bling tu. So ubarari ke mielo. So until the families of both Sang and of course Pate now begin to do their own investigation, first go to Brikama Area Council, confirm that this guy does not work there. And then go to the police and ask them, where did you get all this information from? Because the death of your children, your relatives need to actually, get justice. And if the system in place is not willing to do justice, then the families should start, doing their own impartial investigation to make sure that they establish their own truth. And of course, seek justice or seek redress through the international community. Don't side with the government, because the government knows who killed these cops. That is why every year they invite you people to camouflage the situation. Don't agree to it. Now that you actually got to find out that, of course, the court said this person did not do it, then it becomes olerumuntu in the campanata team itabling panata nubarari. Ochinda road komentana on the mekon meneo at Naruka Winquino part of the chat in Naruka Tef Blinga Rukachi, Karanya and Kurkatev Kurtenuk. A commentana on Carton Puchito Chakwe because Banyan Capanata Bling Papa Mekuma, Napana thing, Riganata, Papa Pale Paruchakul, Yanke finger Pofinka Guzuko Fasompunu, Marimanyanka Tef Bling, Kaingana, Pulonkoji. Tanga rolenya kaatu ko ina rolenya o chimbi mwara uniform papote polem nyanka panini fingu pasompe mbare mbuka kake keja banyanka ma achingu ko politika aka browe ni politika ni finga pasompe nana undo banya yudi bijika ja pate jallo banyanke lukano wa sambi natana nina lo ninka njaka ipate buke finga pasompe mutupo ba polisi ka kake kelenti bulenti de komutana na wilingi bing awunu pintandi wijaka kuma upass winda mobu winking ndatepe mobu mobile la format rule wi ndamosa de puin natum baja kuma nyani me mobile liba chuni butrakir buke mobile mbabuka ka format ru mobile lo ka komutana na puri puchu bararia o chitingu ko kambeko ningu ko ka gusuko. But I think the good thing is that, Grandma and other people understood what's going on. In the Gambia, the whole point is that people can be silent and be watching you. That does not mean that they don't notice you or they don't know what is happening. Ida bonna kumolto de, but that does not mean that more on tulo tamwela. Bawe ba fokan tulo ba mweka. Nsan I could actually say na haji tije but ako mamwe. No. Amanke o bankuti. So this is the point. We all together need to start supporting these families of the victims. The families of the victims deserve justice. And now probably they are in that dilemma. What do we do? Because it is obvious to all of us that Jalola singo before Ramoka. What a Walter Tilwan into Onyata Manila and Tilwan into Onyabe told la Carola and you told the Yanda Tilwan into Onyata Manila. But a Nimin found Yanda Tilwan into Onyata Manila, well on Tilimbalo from what is signed Tilwan into Onyabe Tamalan Onyadil. Until society collectively works together to make sure that justice is established in this case. Because Brikama Area Council from the beginning gave us a statement that this guy does not work there. Now ask the question, why did you say he works there? And the president, after all of these things, you were presented with nothing. You gave her 1 million to Mama Jabi, who should in turn give you an incriminating audio, just for you people to come to court and tell us that that audio is lost. So now tell me the simple, economics of it. It should be a give and take, right? I give you 1 million because you give me an evidence, or you provided me somebody with credible evidence that he committed a crime. So Mama provided you people with nothing. And you gave Mama $1 million of Gambian taxpayers' money? You see, the reason why the government will not take Ansi Jao for for the treatment that was recommended by the medical practitioners while she was in custody, and then not long ago she came out to complain about body pain, is because they wanted her to say that she recognized Ousainou. But Ansi ning alatema. Adiamuta walto kiti board. Manyimboyo long, kudunte. We had no problem with anybody while we were standing where we were. It's just out of nowhere that somebody was shot. Boom, boom. Janinte beton lang fanangamwe boom. Nganam fang karamuta la lockdown. Nganinje molla telephone kono kalbe aje nyaming, because they wanted her as the surviving one to actually lie that I nyimboyo sutele, or probably he is the person who committed the crime. Now that that did not happen, this lady, until Gambians come together to help her, she might continue to suffer in this country, because you told after me now more okay. So Ansi deserves support. She deserves international treatment. Those who have the financial muscle, capability, and ability to fly her off that country, that woman needs support. Just like every other person people raise funds for and take them for international treatment, that lady needs that, because the government will not do it. The reason why people are not doing it, we felt that is the government's responsibility, because she was working for the government of the Gambia. In her line of duty, she was shot. And that becomes the government's responsibility to take care of her medical bills at all levels where required. But they failed to do so because she could not do the lies that they wanted her to. So let the people, the citizenry, support this woman. Among kuki hani mo mulla. Mama 1 million or so, and then mini along all father 100,000 di wala family la. I don't even know how much you people would have given Auntie Jao. Mama man fendu ngato buloko na le Gambia 1 million dia. Auntie Jao fele janga be tora kan be bataring alamo samba no hani bantala banko kan jara rolla. And atolo ko atolo be tonyala ninti wala tinyine kan kula mimbe dendi wala sayala. Yala ni Auntie father no fonga. You people don't worry. You people are pretending. You are just on a tick box to try to please those families, but the families now would know that something did not go right in this case, and they definitely need to point their hands at the government and start to do their own impartial investigation and include people, around the world to make sure that the government does the right thing. And that is to check inwardly, to ask their people why all the lies and the fabrication, deceit, the cover-ups. President Barrow, if you want to be taken seriously, this is what you needed to do. The reason why this lady survived was for a reason. Indeed, it was for a reason, puppies. It was for a reason. But it could have gone either way. She could have lost faith in God and actually decide to side with the liars. Imagine if she had said, oh yes, I recognize him. He was the one that actually shot us. An innocent person would have rotted in jail. They tried to actually play a perfected script that was meant to be an operation, no mistake. And it became operation at every level, mistakes upon mistakes. Operation mistakes upon mistakes. And then you would understand that if you understand how criminality is investigated, you will notice that the initial script was a pre-planned one. And the script was prepared before the incident. Post-incident scripts shouldn't be the same as the pre. Because the post-incident, some of the actions would have actually changed, and therefore the script needed to be changed a little bit. But because they are not criminally smart, they actually left the script the way it is. Wale atina, because UDP made the complaint about Patejallo. They did not wait for another UDP court sitting. Purka modundi wolokono, mi yalonko wole betala manya maneke wodla, yena lawokang, maybe nita for a UDP ban, yo mari bondi nang, from the prisons and probably send you abroad and ask you to shut up. No, that did not happen. For them, it was like UDP complain about Patejallo. Let's just do this. Go and do whatever that we want to do, and then say that it is one of them. But one of them, in case Nimma Marishot or whatever we would have done, we go to court and make sure we secure a conviction. The government was not interested in establishing the truth and justice. It was out there, to vehemently fight to secure just a conviction. By any form, Tonya wala Tonyata, no, let's secure a conviction. That is why they formatted his phone, because it was not about establishing the truth. It's about alanga laka. Alwulta walang alanga laka. Morato moja ubale timwan ala yalong kila yalong. Alanga laka. Boy, ala telefono atandila ko nyimbo ontende. Boy, ngo, telefono format wai. Al telefono format boy ngalaka boy. Boy. Nyindula de ngamara yamran ta folo ko ngabay standal moy la de ko mi ya mi nyi faro ke ay combat buto la dum boy ndate yalla de samara saba boy nyi kilo mo combat buto al nga fatel tam al nga laka confession boy mboso do no la nyaadi bon nindo ke ta sonna ko confess anonta video fela nan jani mo fe nan jangi abena lanke na wala ko ndoke man son ko confess so be min ke no la al ngata anyin ka bato la anyin ka fato la anyin ka ya mol to la ye wala be sa fedre ko okay mi ngom mi be do ngata o be double double nga sa fe mfangol ye nga tomprin imagine boy mbana na bo ko ngata ke fango independent witness or he entered anti-crime through the back gate at midnight. Oh, this is very simple, man. This is the simplest case to actually adjudicate. This is the simplest or the most cheeky banditry that one can ever imagine. More so for a state masterminded crime to be this weak. Adama ina masakunda ito nyanin tilungo tamandi. Molo me konjang. Molo man konnante ya sodo me mintan dilela. Para min nyanta do wolon to nyanin tilungo ti. Atol nintol be kanyanta nyambanko kanjane. You've never heard this young man say anything about politics. I, for one, don't even care who rules the Gambia, because When I felt I could no longer live in this country, I was like, hello, madam, let's leave. On our own terms and on our own terms and conditions. So look, I lived in Europe before I actually came back to Gambia and look around and say, you know what, this is not it. I'm leaving. So why do you think I should be interested in what happens because the whole point is you move with Gambia's problems wherever you go. Because your families live there, your relatives live there, and that is your country. There is nowhere else you could be proud of more than where you came from. So what's the point? You people told us that this person was an act of terrorism, and in the first place, you did not even say it was an intimidation for the police or they were against the police. They said they were against your government. But of course, I will still give you the benefit of the doubt because you are the head of government and you are the head of state. Therefore, anything that is done is against you. That is true, but should be backed by evidential proofs and not your beliefs and thoughts, because your beliefs and thoughts don't rule a country. Dr. Adama, begin to do something right. Begin to impartially investigate the people within and do it impartially. Probably you need to get, a civilian-led investigation that would investigate the police and of course its inner core, because the police had no reason whatsoever to lie against the killing of its own men. Their responsibility is to protect life and property, and that includes the lives and properties of their own men. Ote man dalil la sura purka tonyata no fo kula membe dendingi tolo fangol la molla sayala. Au chukinja ko chubara de botu nyanke te fanu fingungu patu manja ko awuja ka kuma kori karolul. Korla mene botu kuma ko nyako kindo ko fiara kuma tunkate chi. But again, pute fungu pija kuma, justice would just outrightly outplay itself, for some reason we will just sit down and then, of course it will just fall from the sky and that is justice. No. Justice is just us until we demand it. It will never be given to you on a silver platter. More so when those who are supposed to give you justice become the criminal perpetrators of heinous crimes, then you don't just sit back and seek justice. And again, if under a regime 80 or 70 children could die of a cough syrup simply because of malgovernance and of course institutionalized corruption and of course negligence, and then cops being killed in the way they are killed, and for the government to lie to the teeth about their death, you vote for that government again, then that means that you are actually, settling for the status quo. You see, if you have reason and you look at Jammeh's days, the first 5 years was not really, but except for like that November 11th or whatever, but like those folks who wanted to do a counter coup, military versus military, personally, I don't justify that, A man did a coup and he succeeded. You want to counter coup him more, in the way and manner it was done, that is, grossly wrong or whatever. But again, that is military versus military. But the first couple of years, we realized things were better until the more you put in your system, the more intoxicated you become. The more you stay, the more intoxicated you will be. First, 70 children died. Oh, Gambians still continue to vote for me. Oh, they like that I could kill them. Oh, yeah, 2 police officers got killed in the manner in which they did. Oh, vote for me. Oh, they are very happy with me. They are very comfortable with what I'm doing. Jammeh, until he got, after 10 years, 12, 13, that is when we begin to realize that, oh yeah, we have now shaped a very, very dangerous person who could actually pick any one of us, until we collectively say, hey, doina, can do you feel and you can only do that through the ballot. But you settle for it, who knows? You can become the victim tomorrow. And who cares if actually you vote for this party or that other party? So this is basically you got to understand. Sorry, I'm getting calls from unknown numbers. I'm not sure if you get somebody's number that is not even saved on the person's phone. The first thing to do is probably to send a message. Then you just be ringing people's phones like that. But anyway, that's beside the point. So nyinno mu kuti mi yalon ko mulu nyanta kera. Na le karte fay adama wala nyinto ko atolo sontalo ko 70 children should just die of cough syrup and true government negligence. Na le karte fay adama wala nyinto ko atolo sontalo ko police wala nyanta fala nyimfanya jaw si falale, and then for government to come and lie and normalize that it is okay. But because I'm not interested in the politics of it, here we are asking a simple question: who killed the cops? And the Gambian will be to continue to mount pressure on the police, to continue to mount pressure on the state of the Gambia, to continue to mount pressure on everybody to keep asking these questions. And we are begging the journalists, just like Point newspaper did for Data Haidara. Every newspaper in this country should wake up tomorrow with the question, who killed the cops, on a little caption of their newspapers, until we get the right things, because collectively we all need to work together. Even though this case had even journalists involved, because na journalists all do janne mini will take avoko Ousainou Bojang confess moro nibe wasafela ika follow ko according to this person, or this person said, or the police said, but you authoritatively made it as if it was in your presence. Al kakala nyin safari si falke bial bebe malulenne. I will not mention certain names because nafata wala I'm not here to actually blame or jalai anybody. Whatever momo iminke dro yake ni alal tema ala si kontibuala para la hakilo to alka kumol min fo mulma ning ayatara manko yila ni mo koten nafa ko according to this person karlafo. Don't take statements that do not belong to you and of course make them yours, because tomorrow nin to nyata nolom it will all bounce back on you. Many people had said a lot of wrong things against this young man about this. Well, we never froze, because from the beginning we know that everything Sankare said was a lie, and that was completely end of case for us. And now we dare the president to provide his evidences, because he said that he believed that, of course, this person did it. And your belief does not actually adjudicate any case. Cases are adjudicated on the basis of the merit that are brought forward to them and the evidences presented. Therefore, we are daring the president to present his evidences. We intend not to, go any further. But of course, Sang is a young man that I know. So when you tell me Ousainou is home and Malmo could relax, no, I'm not relaxing. Somebody that I know, I watch folks teach at presentation and marry a very little kid, whom I consider my family. If that person is dead or killed in the way he is killed, we will continue. Hana atara fang ko me belo long fang fereng. Moro momo Gambia uniform odum police uniform odu obe do ko lan tol natol bele. Katu okoto uniform odu wato wati mandra do ko kaka wululali ebe do ko kaka Gambia bele. Odo ni momo ye fa o kono dro wanyanta Gambia bele sunula. Anu ninto nyani ntilo nyanda tamala odo Gambia no bele nyanta oto nyani ntilo tamanila. Odo Gambia no bele nyanta wulla ka nyin question nyin ka who killed the cops. Ndolo mandra mono made mbe min no mo wala nyinte ko jumale yake. Woto momo nyanda to nyani ntilo tamandila wodla wala nyanda fintila ka to nyani ntilo tamanda ko. Nyin karo nyin manjaw ya amanke nendre kumanta amanke kumatile mbalti momo amandra mola politiku kudo mbe nyin karo ke kam minna jumale police wala fa ka police wala mandra do ku ke kan NPP police wala mandra do ku ke kan UDP police wala mandra do ku ke kan any political establishments or whatever group. The police work for the Gambia, for the state of the Gambia, and if they are killed in the way these folks were, then everybody in this country, not just their families, should continue to ask the question, who killed the cops? Until then, badingolo alanga continue kanyinyin karo bambandide. Now my police yela comment section of block earlier on, but they had to reopen it. But I'm told about from Marco Ekang to actually ask who killed the cops, because I told you I don't know. Wala ne konen jalo singo before an ka kole atol ka comment section o close nyadila. You should actually open it wider for people to continue to ask that question, because we are trying to know the people who killed your own men. Atol do kunyolo wala fata o fanya jaw si valla alla boss ñol finite e fanya fo la kodo bindol ba fo kan who killed the cops atol ka la comment section o sorom wala Gambia fa do bi jende ka jakale fa atol fa ma nyal fa wala ya amara atol man kulo nyin kodo ba atol nyanta kontan la fango inon tolka because atol ta keno la fango le because of your codes of conduct and ethics. But the public is doing it on your behalf and you are blocking them from speaking. Gambia fango do video fango kontaka jaka la butum nali mblock nsal tag nali o fana mbondi do nsa safe dunia dula karo bela oto sambe journalist wala fana be commandila ala nyin kala do ko ala newspaper bala la safe je momo fana be ko to drong ala safe je, until we actually make sure that Gambia kodeng akana muru o jamano economy yalon ko mulka fawo fanya jawol land, and nobody will establish the truth about it. That should be a done error. That shouldn't be an error in this period. And I think the president should definitely give us the respect enough to actually investigate this matter impartially. Therefore, we are calling on him to look inwardly and of course begin to do right, and let his advisors advise him to do right, because hani itolo fango damalu yalon na mimbe kering. One thing is interpersonal relationship. I protect them a lot. I speak to a lot of people who support the regime, who are key in the regime, and will be you know, they would say things outwardly, but internally moro. It's not important to say. But if there is anybody within the regime who actually believe that Ousainou Bojang killed the cops, probably it's just Barrow. Because every other person is like Moro. And you people know that it has a political bearing on you. That is why some of your people start agitating. If there is any one person, only person who believes that Ousainou probably did kill the cops, it's Barrow who said he believed it. But your belief should now be backed by facts. And we want you to present your evidence, and we are daring you to do that. But aside that, we are very disappointed in your statement. It is divisive. It is basically segregative. And you are telling us that ntolning karinyol mantra kukilung ntolmanke kukilung moti wala nyinte ko ita minyanta kala ntolbela president inyanta kaje ko Gambia dingo bebe ntela koto ita ka dolo ita ka fatam fanso dundini moltema simply because there is a court case that your government might be complicit in the perpetration of this heinous crime wala atine ko inin ntolmanke kukilung moloti woto ita yela kuolta ndol fananga na kuolta wala ni wala rule elsewhere and leave Brufut out of it. Brufut will remain as an island, and we can have our own president. Probably, you know, we can exist as a country of our own. How about that? And get us out of Brikama Area Council. And then and there probably we can establish Sani Mentoring Area Council. But that's just a joke. Thank you very much for your time, and you know, do have a wonderful, you know, whatever time it is at your locations. But ka adama nyininka atiyala evidence ul fintindi na sila. Baraka bakeo.